Good afternoon, and thank you for joining me this afternoon on a live broadcast both on Facebook and YouTube. Wherever you may be watching from, it's interesting and a privilege to have you listen to me with a few things that I've got to say. And I've spoken now for several weeks on different topics concerning leadership and how it influences our lives and how in turn we ought to be influencing the lives of others around us. Last Saturday, I spoke about mentorship, mentoring people, training the younger generation or people behind you to come up to the standards that you have attained with the sole aim of giving them a solid foundation and probably encouraging them to do much more better than you have ever done. Because in life, the essence of leadership is to have to share power and to have other people overcome you where you have reached and what you have attained in life. That is the essence of true leadership. The true essence of leadership is to hand over the baton or transfer the baton from one person to another with a view of building upon the things that have been attained or achieved by one generation and allowing the other generation to have a good start. Now, to be able to do that, you and I need to mentor people. Last week or on Saturday, I shared a few examples of the things that I do and that I carry young people along. Now, as I carry them along, I do not come up with a structural format to say you must do this, you shouldn't do this, and they simply just watch what I do, they flow with what I do, and then from time to time, I give them permission or give them room or create opportunities for them to do or not really to replicate, but to do things that I had otherwise been doing with a view of allowing them exercise themselves. And that way they have learned over time. Right now, I set up a group many years ago, about 10 years ago, trained a group of young men. And by the time we were in the third year, one of them decided he was going to set up a similar group to start something closely related to what I was doing. And I said, fine, it's encouraging to me to have you move from coming to draw from me and having to share with other persons. Okay? So that's the essence of mentorship. Having to train people and in your lifetime seeing them do things the way that you had taught them to do and sometimes much more better than you have done. Now, at the tail end of that process is the fact that you would like people to succeed you. You would like people to succeed you. Now, if you do not have successors, you are a failure. If you cannot choose a successor, if you cannot choose someone to fit into your shoes and to work with them while you are yet alive and even after you have left, then you are a failure. And there are examples around the globe of people who have failed to pass the baton from one generation to the other. Some basically because they did not mentor anybody, they did not train anybody to take over from them. They held on tight to all that they had acquired in terms of knowledge, in terms of wealth, in terms of influence. They held on tightly to what they had and they were unable to transfer it to others. And as soon as they passed on, as soon as they died, you know what? Everything faded away with them. Okay? But there are others who have done very well. Others who have succeeded in transferring from one generation to the next generation, and not necessarily because they started something formal or they did a formal form of training, but because they had people, younger generations always around them, and so they transferred what they had in terms of wealth, in terms of influence, in terms of authority to the next generation. And today, years after they've died, their names still ring a bell. One clear example is the life of Mahatma Gandhi of India. Okay, that tiny man who fought for the independence of India had a lot of people around him. It was supposed to be, well, at least at that time, it looked like a one-man riot squad going along himself, taking on England and so on, and mobilizing people to do the things that he needed to do. But eventually, a number of people came close to him. Every time he needed to make a decision, there were people who heard him speak. There were people who understood the logic behind his decision. Every time he took up a fast, okay, in defense of India, in defense of his struggle, there were people who also took up the fast, who understood the value of the fast, why Gandhi did the things that he did. And many years after, there are people who still hold on dearly to Gandhi and his principles, his philosophies in life, and they run with these principles and philosophies as if Gandhi. So the internet seems to be fluctuating today. I appeal with you to just hang on with me as I'm sure it will get better, or my guess is it will get better as we go along. So as I was saying, um, if you have any comments, if you have questions, if you have issues with any item I discussed, please feel free to post on the comment section. I will go through your comments and respond to them accordingly. I would also suggest that you also to the issues that contributions to the things that I'm sharing with us today. So I've just shared the example of Gandhi. Perhaps one more example is Nelson Mandela. When he spent 26 years of his life in prison, he had people around him. Okay, there were also younger people who came close to him. People like Thabo Mbeki, okay, the man who succeeded him after he became president. Thabo Mbeki was one of Mandela's students, prodigy, or whatever, one of his mentees. Okay, So it was easy for Thabo Mbeki to fit into Mandela's shoes and to stand by the principles and policies that Nelson Mandela stood for. Jacob Zuma followed thereafter. All these were people who came after Mandela because they had interactions with Mandela. Unfortunately, there were those in the mix who didn't behave the way that Mandela would have behaved. Okay? Jacob Zuma is one clear example who had to be pushed out of office because of allegations of corruption, because of high-handedness, and so many other things. Now, that portrays or paints the picture that I'm aiming to help us see today, which is that you ask the question, how could this man have succeeded, or how could he have come after two great men who had led in South Africa, two great black men who had led in South Africa? Okay, my guess is that there was a um, there was a breach in the method of selection of people who succeeded one another. Okay? Obviously, there was a breach between Thabo Mbeki and Jacob Zuma. Okay? Thabo Mbeki inherited Mandela, did a fine job as the president. He handed over to Jacob Zuma. Now, Jacob Zuma was a total departure from Nelson Mandela, total departure from Thabo Mbeki. So the question is, how did this man arrive there? Obviously, the method of choosing a successor was faulty at some point. It was faulty at some point. So it is critical, it is exceptionally critical to discover who your successor is, and it is much more critical to know how to choose the rightful successor. To know how to choose the rightful successor. Because, like I said from the onset, success without a successor is failure. Success without a successor is failure. At one point in this country, in Nigeria, we had a very wealthy man who was the wealthiest in Africa. And in fact, there were only few people across the globe that competed in terms of wealth with him. Okay? He died in 1993-94. Okay, he was killed in 1993-94 because he delved into politics and so on and so forth. As at the time of his death, he had, at least to the best of my knowledge, over 5 well-working companies, 5 exceptionally strong companies. He had a newspaper house. He had a football team. He had an airline. He had a hotel and one other business. All right. He involved himself in very good businesses. He mastered the tricks of business. He had so much wealth that regardless of where you were across the country, you felt the impact of his wealth. But soon after he passed on, soon after he died, everything about his wealth more or less vanished. His children broke away with one another. The family was no longer tight. There was confusion in the mix and so on and so forth. And you know what? Eventually, that name almost vanished, except for the fact that he had some national acclaim. So a number of people, in fact, some people never knew of him until probably a recent move by the president to inaugurate the day in which he stood for election as the Democracy Day. Okay, I had my children ask me what it was, and I had to sit them down to explain to them why. Because in spite of the fact that he was wealthy, he did so well, he could not pass the torch on. He did not choose a successor even after he died. Now, the assumption the assumption was that because he had a first son who was old enough, the assumption was that that first son will inherit his businesses and thrive and do well. But the picture is so clear that the first son could not do that. The first son could not do that. Why? I would suggest that probably the son was never mentored. Well, he was never mentored to assume the role that he eventually fell on his lap. Okay? He was never mentored to see that business as his own business and to be involved in the day-to-day running of the business. So as soon as this man dies, everything about him dissipated and vanished. But in the country at the moment, there are so many other companies like the Dantatas that have spanned from a grandfather to father, from father to children. This underscores the importance of succession. It underscores the importance of succession. Obviously, the Dantata grandfather had trained a successor who took over from him and did well and passed it on to the children. So unless you choose a successor, unless you train a successor, and unless you train or choose a good successor, the tendency is that all of your achievements will vanish with you as soon as you die. All of your achievements will crumble as soon as you die. Okay? So it's important to know how to choose a successor. You must also note this, okay? Excuse me, that whatever you begin, whatever venture you begin, is always going to be bigger than you. Whatever vision comes to your heart at the moment, it's a vision that does not or should not stop with you. It's a vision that must transit beyond you to 2 or 3 or even 4 and 5 other more generations after you. Every vision that starts and ends with a person is an incomplete vision. Every vision, every venture that starts with you, ends with you, is not a worthwhile venture. So for as many out there who are already dreaming of doing certain things, who are already starting businesses, okay, who are probably even getting involved in jobs across the globe, if you cannot get a successor, if you cannot pass it on beyond you, you have actually succeeded in wasting time. And excuse me, when I talk about a successor, I'm not necessarily talking about your children or your wife. I'm talking about getting a competent hand to carry on from where you will stop and go beyond. Okay? And go beyond. There are so many people across the globe who started certain things, passed it on to some members of the family, and those ventures are still thriving. They may not be thriving at the pace or at the speed that the originator initiated them. They may suffer a slowdown, but they still exist. At some point in life, they will surely rise again to the peak. I used on this platform a few weeks back an example of Lever Brothers. When I was born, the first products that were used on me were mostly from Lever Brothers. I haven't checked to find out how long that company has existed, but I know it is well over 60 years. Okay, so it has outlived the original visionaire. It has outlived even another generation and probably 2 or 3 more generations. That's how every venture or every vision or every goal should continue to be. And like I said earlier on, unless you are able to get a good successor, the tendency is that your vision dies with you. Walt Disney, the Disney park, in fact, opened after the death of Walt Disney. Okay? Why? He had envisioned it, he had spoken about it, he had imprinted it on his wife's heart, such that even when he died, before the Disneyland was commenced, the wife knew exactly what he wanted, and she brought to bear what he wanted, and that business has continued to thrive on many years after the owner of that concept had died. In fact, at the inauguration of Disneyland, one of the commentators said, "Well, I wish that Walt Disney were alive to see this. Okay, he would have been proud of it." And the wife, when she got up to speak, she said, "Actually, Walt Disney had seen this. He had seen it. He had envisioned it. It was a complete picture in his mind." And not only was it a complete picture in his mind, he was also able to transfer it to the wife. So the wife had the exact complete picture of what the husband had. And from that point, the wife transited, the husband passed it on to the wife took on the transition and brought to bear the business that that man had dreamt about. And today, anyone who visits Disneyland is marveled by the kind of idea that someone came up with. Now, what I'm pointing at is the fact that that business, that concept, that vision still lives on because first, the original visionary knew it was bigger than himself. Secondly, because he knew it was bigger than himself, he had passed it on to someone whom he knew would be able to carry that business or that concept from the stage where he stopped to the next level. There are so many other organizations like that. The Billy Graham Ministry, okay? Billy Graham, then preacher, had preached to billions of persons. While he was still alive, he passed it on to his sons. Okay? His sons are still thriving in that direction and doing that business, or well, not business, and doing that ministry. Why? Because their father had chosen a successor and had transited from where he was and passed it on to his children while he was even still alive. And his children were thriving in that venture that the man had started. So we must know that every vision is bigger than the original visionary. Every vision is bigger than the original visionary. And if every vision is bigger than you and I, what should we be doing? It means that we must be planning our transition from one generation to the next generation. We must be planning our transition one generation to the next generation. Now, excuse me, if that be the case, if the priority of leadership is to prepare your replacement, how then do you prepare your replacement? How then do you prepare your replacement? Currently, there are nations that are in turmoil because of the issue of power. Because of the issue of power. And when I talk power, I'm talking about control of state wealth. Okay? The reason being that while the leaders were on the throne, they never trained a successor. And they never, in fact, intended to hand over to a successor. And when death came suddenly, confusion broke out. And today, the nations are in trouble. In fact, while some of them were still alive, and Zimbabwe comes to mind, while some of them were still alive, their nation was in pain, their nation was in trouble. Of course, that tells you that whoever was leading wasn't leading with the concept of leadership, or did not bring to bear all that he or she had been deposited with in terms of the concept of leadership. The essence of leadership is to train your replacement. It's not to gather followers around you, but to train a replacement of people who will take over from you and strive to do well, do better than what you were doing. To be able to get successors, or to be able to get a good successor, your first step is to choose a team. Depending on how vast the job is, or depending on how weighty the agenda that you have, I would suggest that you choose between 3 and at most 10 persons, young men and women around you that you can constantly train, young men and women around you that can constantly feed from you, young men and women whom you can pour your heart and pour your life, you can pour your wealth, you can pour your wisdom upon their lives. The reason being that if you choose a team while you are alive and you train them while you are alive, you can actually sit back and watch them operate while you are still alive. And the advantage of that is that you can now correct them when they go wrong. You can encourage them when they are doing right to stand well. Okay? You can guide their minds. You can direct their visions. You can train their skills. You can encourage them and, excuse me, while you are yet alive. While you are yet alive. That is the advantage of choosing a team. One other advantage of choosing a team is that, of course, while you are still alive, while you are still training the team, there are certain people that may fall out of the team. That shouldn't be a disadvantage. It should be an advantage for you if you have a team of people that you intend to succeed you. Okay? That when people fall away from your team, it shouldn't trouble you. Of course, it should trouble you because someone has fallen out and your wish for that person will not come to pass. But then it shouldn't trouble your program, it shouldn't trouble your agenda because you have them in a pool. So the first step to take is to choose a team. To choose a team. A team of people who will hear you speak, who will watch and monitor your life. Excuse me. A team of people who will monitor your life, watch how you do things, such that when you leave the scene, they already know why you do things and where you do things or how you even do the things. So to get a good successor, you must begin by choosing a team. The second step is similar to the first, except that it goes even deeper, which is to say that in your team of 4, 5, or 10 persons, excuse me, if you may, within that team, choose a much more smaller team. If you have 10 persons who are looking up to you to succeed you, As you walk along with them, as you move along with them, you already have a feel of those who are likely to succeed you. Those who have a higher tendency to succeed you, select them as a much more closer team and teach them stronger lessons than the entire team. So there are certain things that may be for the generality of everyone. Say you have a team of 10 members. There are certain things that can be for the generality of the 10 members, but there are certain exclusive lessons that should be left for 2 or 3 persons of whom you've marked out as being different from the rest of the team. So the first is to choose a team. The second is within your larger team, choose a much more smaller team. Choose a much more smaller team. People that in this instance can come into your bedroom and not marvel or go out to gossip or go out to say things. No, they can meet you at your weakest point. People who are so comfortable to go in to your safe house and will not destroy things but will leave the safe house better than they met it. That's what it means, or that's how you are enabled to choose a successor. Now, in considering people within that team, let me make certain suggestions to you about the persons not to bring into that small caucus or that tightly knit team of a larger team that you have selected. Number one is that you must never trust people who love power. Of course, you've got authority over people, and there are so many others who will come after you because of the authority that you have over people. There are people who are eagerly waiting to take over power, to take over authority from where you will stop. Such persons are dangerous. They are exceptionally dangerous. You see, the thing is that if someone loves power, if someone loves authority, as soon as he or she gains power or authority, they lord it over people. They lord it over people. You may have heard that popular saying that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Now, I do not agree with that saying because what I know is that power cannot corrupt you. Nelson Mandela had power, but he was not corrupted by power. Mahatma Gandhi had power, but he was not corrupted by power. Yet there are others who did not have as much power and authority than these two persons, but exhibited authority, exhibited power, corruptive power over people. You know why? Because it is who you are that power exposes. And this is the reason why I keep encouraging you to develop yourself, to train yourself, to empower yourself with grace, with grit, with humility before you gain a place of authority. So, power doesn't corrupt, neither does absolute power do. It is power that exposes your inner nature. And so, if you trust someone who loves power, the tendency is that the person who loves power will corruptively use power. That person will oppress people. That person will suppress people. And look around the globe. Let me use political leaders as an example. Look around the globe at the moment. There are people who are in the seat of authority right now who are oppressing the same people that they should have been working for. And of course, if you followed me for long, you know that my simple definition of leadership is service. Service to humanity. Right now, whether in the Western world, in the Eastern world, in third world countries, there are good political leaders as well as there are oppressive political leaders. So if you trust someone who loves power, the tendency is that the person will use his or her power to oppress people. So in choosing a successor, do not choose anyone who loves power. Thank you if you are online with me. I can see a few persons who are online with me. I'm most appreciative. Like I usually encourage, take time out to share this broadcast. Take time out to invite others to share in this broadcast. You can do a watch party with friends around the globe. Okay. You can also type in your comments if you have any comments in agreement with the things I'm saying or in disagreement with any issues that I'm saying or on areas that you demand clarity. Just type them in the comment section depending on what you're watching. If you're watching YouTube, do the same thing. If you're watching via Facebook, please do the same thing. Just post in your comments in agreement or disagreement or seeking clarity, and I will respond accordingly as time goes on. Once again, I appreciate you for being with me online. The next thing you must never concentrate on in choosing people who will succeed you is do not choose people who love vision, who love your vision. People who love your vision rather than love you will go with you for as long as the vision goes. At the time when they think that the vision has a snag or has a hiccup or has a bit of a challenge, the truth is that these people will abandon ship and leave you stranded. Again, find out around the globe, you will see that there were so many people who were in love with certain visions, but not in love with the visioner. And so when they had any issues, they simply abandoned the vision, they abandoned the visioner and left. Again, you know, for those of us who are students of history, the history of South Africa, when Nelson Mandela fought against apartheid, there were others from the Zulu tribe who did not like Mandela, but they liked what he stood for. And when the time came, they broke away. They formed groups. They started to challenge this man. They challenged his fight against the white oppressive rule in South Africa. So he had several battles on different legs, on different fronts. So he was contending with white minority rule. He was contending with oppressive tribal leaders and so on and so forth. Now, but the important thing is that time has now written a report, and we know that Nelson Mandela was on the right course of vision. But what I'm driving to say, what I'm driving at is the fact that for you to choose a successor, do not choose anyone who loves the vision and not the visioner. There is a huge danger with that. It's the same thing that happened in India. That's why we've got a war between India and Pakistan. They will hardly see each other. When Muhammad Gandhi was fighting for the independence of what then looked like the large India, okay, the Pakistani followed him. But on the day that independence was declared, Pakistan broke away from India, or at least they broke away from Mahatma Gandhi's fight. The reason being that they didn't love Mahatma Gandhi, they loved what he stood for, but never loved him as a person. In that instance, it's exceptionally dangerous to hand over authority to such people who love the vision and not love the visioner. Whenever there is a problem with the vision, these people are quick to jump ship. They will abandon you, they will abandon the vision. So, in choosing a successor, I plead with you, never choose a person who loves the vision over the visioner. It is exceptionally dangerous. The next is never choose someone who loves your gift rather than you. Again, this is prevalent across the globe. Prevalent across the globe. When Maradona of Argentina played football, there were so many people who were in love, supposedly, who were in love with him. These people loved his gift because he was an exceptional footballer. They loved how he played, but they never loved him. How do I know that? The moment Maradona stopped playing football, a number of his fan base broke away from him. Not only that, the moment he began to involve himself with drugs and some other, when he was troubled, okay? The moment he began to get into one trouble or the other, a number of people broke away from him. When Maradona played football in Argentina, he had a church, okay, in quote, he had a church of a group of followers who worshipped him. They worshipped his skill, they worshipped his gift. And I hear the church still exists in Argentina, okay? People who bowed down to him, they were actually bowing down to his gift and not to him. And the moment Maradona began to get into one trouble or the other, what we saw or what transpired was that these people began to break away from Maradona. Friends, when choosing a successor, do not choose people who love your gift, but rather people who love you. If you choose anyone who loves your gift, the moment your gift stops to operate, those people will break away from you. And imagine handing over to someone who loves your gift and your gift stops being operational while you are yet alive. You know how disastrous that can be. And so in your lifetime, you will see something you have labored for over the years fade away. So please, as you choose a successor, note that, like I said from the beginning, one is to choose a team of between 4 to 10 persons, young persons that you can train, that you can encourage, young persons that you can develop over time to follow you gradually and to fit into your shoes when you are no more on the scene. And the second step is that even amongst that team, select a very few by observation of people whom you think can succeed you and train them even harder and better than the rest of the team. There's no harm in that. And I'm pointing out that in choosing that select team, there are certain persons that you must never choose to the team. And such persons are people who love your gift, or people who love your vision, or people who love power and authority. Do not choose such people to come anywhere close to what you are doing. The next is to never choose people who love what you have. And when I say people who love what you have, I'm talking about people who know that you have got material wealth and they are more keen and more interested in the material wealth. They know you have got access to places and things, and they are much more interested in access to places and things that they are more interested in you. Such persons can never and should never succeed you, except if you are planning for a failure. If you are planning for a failure, feel free. Choose people who love your gift. Choose people who love what you have. But if you want to succeed and you want your successor to also succeed, do not choose anybody who loves what you have. And this is a sad commentary. These days we see young men and women running after influential people, not because they want the influence to rub off on them, so they can also build upon the influence that they have come into. No, but because they want the gain of the influence. They want to draw material benefits from the people who are supposed to be grooming them to succeed them. And so, if you want someone to succeed you, and you want to choose a successor, I plead with you, do not choose anyone who loves what you have much more than he or she loves you. Do not. Because the chances are that that person will, once they draw what they have come to draw from you, they will abandon your vision and move on. They will abandon your vision and move on. So do not choose people who love what you have. Do not choose people who love power. Do not choose people who love authority. And more so, never choose people who think they are smarter than you. Again, my guess is you've come across a younger person, you've come across successors who think, or persons who are aiming to succeed you and who think that they are smarter than you. So you go into a meeting, you are seeking suggestions from people, and rather than provide solutions, these guys are confronting your own idea and telling you your ideas are wrong. There's no harm in a younger person coming up with better ideas. There's no harm with that, in that. There's no harm in a younger person coming up with a smarter idea. But there is a harm when the person comes up with a smarter idea and insists that the idea must be followed or he or she will resign or abandon ship. There's a huge problem. There's a huge problem. Anytime that is our situation, okay? Anytime that is our situation, we'll fall into a deep mess. So while we do this, we must not choose anyone who thinks he or she is smarter than the visionary, or he or she is smarter than you. Thank you, Onuche, for your comment. It says, great insight, sir. If the love for the gift, vision, or wealth is greater than the love for the visionary becomes dispensable. Of course, not just the visionary becoming dispensable, okay? Because of course, every visionary ought to be dispensable. None of us is indispensable. None of us is indispensable. But to be dispensable before your own time is a huge, huge problem. It's a huge, huge problem. And if you see it from the perspective of the fact that the person gains the gift, gains the wealth, and then moves away from you, then yes, the person thinks that you are dispensable. And that is quite dangerous. That is quite dangerous. So I agree with you, Onucha, and thank you for your comment. Now, having said the person, or having suggested the persons that should not be among your team of successors, having made suggestions about the persons that you cannot select to be a part and parcel of your succeeding team, who are the persons that you must select to form that neat group of successors, people you can train, groom, and hand over authority to. And there's one simple principle, okay, that you should choose. You should get the person who should succeed you. And that is simple. Amongst your team, your neat team of successors, only one criteria is needful, and that is the criteria of love. The person must love you. The person must love you. If someone loves you, the person is willing to do everything possible to ensure that you succeed. So that when you are off the scene, what guides the person's mind is the person's love for you as a person, as an individual. If you choose someone who loves you, the person naturally loves everything that you love. And of course, you and I know that you cannot attain influence unless you have loved things that are proper, things that are right, things that are straightforward, things that are not crooked, things that have integrity in them. No one succeeds without integrity. None. And so if you choose someone who loves you, the person also loves integrity. The person loves all that you stand for. So for you to choose someone who should succeed you, you must choose someone who loves you. Not someone who loves your vision. Not someone who loves the wealth that you have. Not someone who loves the influence that you have or the authority that you have. No, but someone who loves you for who you are. Because someone who loves you for who you are will sit before you, will listen to your instructions, will even make corrections when you are going wrong, out of the heart of love. But someone who does not love you will not even attempt to correct you. Actually, the person waits for you to fail so they can point their finger at you and say you have failed. So choose someone who loves you, because someone who loves you will love who you love. There are people around who have started vision and handed over to some other persons other than members of their families, and as soon as they left, okay, the successor began to oppress even members of the visionaries' families. It's happened across the globe. There are people in churches, for example, who have succeeded the originator of the vision. And as soon as they did that, the first thing they did was to flush out everyone who was connected with the person who started the vision. You know why? Because they never loved the person who started the vision, the person who started the idea. They never loved the person. So it would be easy for them to maltreat other people related to that person. If you choose the person who will love you, they will love what you love and build on what you have built. So they expand the vision because they know that this is your dream. They know that this is your life goal. You have outlived, well, the goal has outlived you. Though the goal has outlived you, they know that your relevance still depends on that. They build upon it. They do not despise it. They do not hate it. They improve over the things that you have built. But if you love, or if you choose someone who does not love you, the person will destroy even the very foundation of the dreams that you have built. If you choose people who love you, they will love the things you love, they will build on the things that you have built. If you choose someone who loves you, the person will protect the things that you have protected. They will protect everything that you have loved. They will build upon the things that you have built, and they will protect them with their lives. The reason being that they love you. And anything that will hurt you, they will do everything possible to prevent it from happening. They will do everything within their power to prevent it from happening. If you choose someone who loves you to succeed you, they will value what you value. They will value what you value. If you love life, they will love life. And when I say love life, if you love humanity, because they love you, they will love humanity. And the essence of every good leadership is for the growth of humanity. The essence of every good leadership is for the protection of humanity, is for the improvement of humanity. And so if you choose a worthy successor, the worthy successor will do what? Will also improve humanity, will give value to humanity. You must note that such people must have the requisite experience to take over from you. This is why mentoring is good. They must have the requisite experience to fit into your shoes with ease. Not running helter-skelter when you've left the scene, no. It's important that they have the requisite experience to do the things that you have trained them to do before you can hand over to them. If you want to see or understand more on mentoring, look for the video of last week, last Saturday, and see what I said about mentoring and the need to mentor young people and young women around us, young men and women around us. Now, they must also be morally inclined, because of course, you cannot love integrity and hand over a venture or hand over your life work or your life pursuit to someone who does not have integrity. It will be disastrous. It will be disastrous. So, friends, these are a few steps about choosing a successor, and I do hope that no matter how young you are, you will begin to choose a team of persons who should move around with you and who should succeed you when you are no more on the scene. And when I say you are no more on the scene, I'm not saying when you have left the world. No, you could still be alive and monitor these young people and sit back and watch them do the things that they are doing in your absence around the scene. Now, I will end with this on a strong note because that point is quite important. You see, a number of us have grown up with the mentality that whatever I gain is for me and should not be shared. That's a warped mentality. It's a warped mentality. Everything that you gain can be shared. There is so much for everybody in the world. Forget the fact that a few people have cornered the resources of the world. A few people have taken the wealth of the world, but actually, if they were to distribute, not really distribute, if every one of us were to rise up to pursue things the way that they pursue, every one of us will be a multi-billionaire. And I have no doubt about that. I have no doubt about that. Where I reside in the Federal Capital Territory of Nigeria, okay, there is enough land for everyone who lives here to own a house for himself or herself. So every one of us has the capacity to excel. And for that reason, we must note that everyone also of us has a capacity to train people to take over from us. And training people to take over from you begins the day that you begin the venture. Don't wait until you are old. From the start of every business venture, from the start of even having your family, let me use that as an example. You can begin to train your children from when they are very young to rise up to the occasion to fill in your shoes when you are not available, such that they are comfortable leading families, and when they set up their own families, they are already doing well because they understand the basic principles of leading families. A lot of homes are breaking up at the moment because they never had mentors. Their parents did not bring them up or mentor them in the way to manage families. So once they get into homes, in fact, there are children who never knew that their parents had issues until they went into their own homes and started their own families and discovered that starting families was not or running families was not a smooth sail, that there were hiccups, there were gallops along the line. And you see, because some of them were never trained in that respect, once gallops begin to show up, once potholes begin to show up in their marriages, the quickest thing for them to do, the fastest solution is to break away from that marriage. That isn't a solution. That is destruction. And so, as I round up, my encouragement to you is that no matter how small your pursuit is, no matter how little your vision is, no matter how small rather your goals and dreams are, please begin to train people who will take over from you. You are never too young to train people. Never. It's on that note that I will say thank you to everyone who has come online, who has been with me from start to finish. And thank you, Onuche Ochai, for your comments. Thank you, James Yarosin. Thank you, Ayuba Barau, for your comments. I appreciate you, and I pray that you remain blessed. I'm contemplating doing something tomorrow. I'm not sure I will do it yet, but if I will, I will post it online for everyone to know that I'm doing it tomorrow. And the reason being that tomorrow is my birthday, and I'm thinking to do something special for listeners out there. But if I do not do it, perhaps I've been overtaken by so many events. Thank you so much for your time, and stay blessed wherever you are. See you on Saturday at 12 noon on this same platform, wherever you're watching from. Thank you so much. Have a good day.